Hello? Hello?
Podcast Network Asia.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
I said, give me a hell yeah!
Hey, this is Zeta Zay.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Talent is not sexually transmitted.
You need to go back to the drawing board because your game absolutely sucks!
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I'm Lewis Howley. I'm Sam Spoker. We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the star, the NXT UK champion, and you're listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You're now watching and listening to the longest-running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Romaran, and Chino Liao coming to you for another weekly live stream on a Thursday evening. Thank you so much to all of our viewers, all of our listeners who are already online over on Kumu at Wrestling Pod and here on Facebook.com/Wrestling Podcast. Really appreciate everybody na nagpa-follow sa podcast, especially on Spotify. Every follow goes a long, long way. The Wrestling Podcast. Just look for us there in case you're finding us here for the very first time. And if you want more from the WWP, of course, you can support the podcast by being a Wrestling Podcast patron. So, Ro, tell them about the patron program and what you can get out of it.
All right, guys, we just had our watch party for Extreme Rules on Monday morning, Manila time. So live, we saw the rope break heard around the universe. We saw everything that happened, and we all had fun. We all had fun trashing that moment as it should be trashed. And you can get in on the fun as well by joining us, subscribing to our Patreon. That is patreon.com/Wrestling Podcast. For as low as 250 pesos a month, you can get access to our Discord server, join our watch parties, get exclusive review content on Patreon, get free merch, all of that good stuff and more. Again, patreon.com/Wrestling Podcast for as low as 250 pesos a month.
Say what's up to some of our early viewers as well. Sina Leo, Boswaki, Tito Uncle, all joining us here on the live stream. Another way you can support the podcast, aside from being a Wrestling Podcast patron, is by using our Lazada affiliate link, Tamang Tama. We are less than 2 weeks away from the next big sale. That is 10/10. So, Ro, tell them how they can help us out through Lazada.
I think may payday sale din yung nangyayari ngayon eh. May payday sale. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you want to get the stuff you need and want from Lazada, kasi hashtag nasa Lazada yan, you can use our affiliate link to support the podcast and get your shopping done. It is podlink.co/IAM, podlink.co/IAM. Type that in your mobile browser. It will take you to the app at the cart. Check out from there, and what you buy will help us do what we do here in the podcast at no extra cost to you.
All right, so let's get to everything on our menu for this evening. And as we said, we're going to start with Extreme Rules, and we have to start at the end. The top turnbuckle snapped as Finn Balor, or the Demon, was setting up for the coup de grace. He stumbled and fell. Roman Reigns got up with a spear and then pinned the Demon 1, 2, 3. Reactions, guys, when it happened. Because I was like, okay, this happened. I was that emoji yung...
Parang ano siya eh. It was the remember how on one SmackDown, Big Show and Brock broke the ring. Pero angas-angas tayo dun, di ba? Kasi super heavyweight sila. This is like the exact opposite of that. yung intention nila was supposed to be super angas, but it was a mistake, a blooper, a gag, if you will. I don't think they really wanted that to happen. So, I mean...
So like I've been saying on wherever soapbox I can use, if the bloodline doesn't come out and say na, okay, ginawa namin to, sinabotage namin yung ring ropes para masira yon and para madapa si Finn, then everyone looks super bad. Everyone looks super Bush League, as Pat McAfee said on the show. So WWE looks bad for having a top rope break at a very crucial moment in a huge match and the main event of a show. Kasi di nila chinek yung rope ng ayos. And it happens to us, even here It happened to us in a match I've been in, and if you don't check that, then it goes to show that you did not do your due diligence in making sure the ring is up to par. And then Finn looks pretty bad because he got owned by a simple, rope maintenance issue. And that's all it took for him to get taken out of his big anime comeback. And the Bloodline will look bad because they didn't think of that. They should have thought of it. Finn Balor's coup de grace coming from the top rope. Oh, dapat pala sinira namin yung top rope. Dapat pala naisip namin yun. So sobrang swerte pala ni Roman Reigns na nagkataon na nasira yung rope. And Roman Reigns gives a skyward gaze to his homie God because he's apparently now God's favorite champion.
Yeah, kasi hindi na champion si Miro.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So Julian's unpopular opinion is that he actually liked the ending kasi this was the closest it looked like Roman is gonna lose. Now the demon came so close and it still protected the demon because it took shenanigans like this to defeat him. What do you guys think about this?
The shenanigan was him getting owned by, nadapa siya from the top rope. That's it. That's all it took for him to get lost.
When you say shenanigans, it's very AEW in the sense that they also use the same example for Evan Bourne or Matt Sydal slipping from the top rope. Diba? When he did that spot dun sa isang casino battle royale, they explained it as like a slippery shenanigan. Yung kay Moxley and Omega dun sa exploding ring match, diba? Shenanigans din daw yun. But then it's not really a great way to explain a botch. Because it just makes it look like amateur hour. And when AEW did it, siguro WWE, because they have they have the benefit of writers, can explain it in story. But I'm not convinced na it's something that you can use in a storyline.
Tsaka yung comeback niya, meron pang background music na paano alam ng production truck na kailangan i-play yung music sa comeback niya, 'di ba? So all it takes is for him to trip on the top rope and get speared just like that. So that's pretty bad shenanigans, man. The only way to save it talaga is for the Bloodline to come out and say that it was their doing.
What do you think about Pat McAfee saying that this is Bush League and then he stopped short of saying the ish word? What do you guys think about that? Because he's the commentator, diba? He's the voice of the audience, but he's also representing the company. So ako natakot ako for Pat McAfee na parang, hala, baka sabunin to mamaya.
Totoo naman Bush League yun eh. Kasi if you let that happen, you are the biggest company in the world. And you are supposed to be masters and experts at doing this, right? And accidents happen. But remember when John Cena and Big Show happened here and the rope broke? It wasn't, it wasn't a crucial moment. It wasn't like the main event, right? And they were able to carry on. It's a freak accident. But this one, obviously, you have it happen at the most terrible moment. And it kind of looks bad because you let it happen like that.
So, looking at Extreme Rules, nakita natin na there were a lot of really good matches from top to bottom. Even the Universal Championship main event was actually a pretty good match until we got to that ending, right? So does an ending like that in the main event of a pretty good pay-per-view undo all of the goodwill built by really excellent wrestling from start to finish?
Isn't this all we're talking about now? Doesn't that prove your point? Na ito yung pinag-uusapan ng mga tao after the show.
It shouldn't, though. I mean,
yeah, it shouldn't. Yeah, for sure.
It shouldn't,
but
diba? Kasi you're considering one thing to overpower the whole thing. Parang the sum of the parts, diba, is not greater than the whole or whatever people say. So parang sa akin lang, sayang naman yung wrestling na ginawa nila for the first few hours of the show. When it's only going to get overshadowed by a botch, diba?
No, I'm not saying it's totally overshadowed, but I was fair in my review for Mark Henry of the pay-per-view. It was a good event, and big moment. Everyone's talking about it now. It just so happens that human nature pretty much makes it so na eto na yung pag-uusapan ng mga tao, and WWE can't control that, and they probably knew that was gonna happen because it was gonna be a controversial finish. So I guess you can say na okay, it was intentional buzz, bad PR on their part, just for someone, just for people to keep talking about them.
Aaron makes a good point in the comment section. Sabi niya, Game of Thrones is bad because the ending is bad. Similarly, I feel that way about How I Met Your Mother.
It's not bad, sir. I think that.
No, he was being sarcastic.
Game of Thrones is the best TV show ever made.
Kaya nga, he's being sarcastic.
Star Wars had a bad trilogy. Star Wars bad? No. It's an oversimplification.
No. Aaron is being sarcastic. He's actually
right.
disagreeing. He's actually agreeing with you in saying that it shouldn't make the whole thing bad.
Yeah, pero Emil also brings up a show like How I Met Your Mother, diba? Na from start up until the very last episode, they were doing something pretty fun, and people were investing in it, and then the ending, hindi nila talaga na-stick yung ending na maayos. So I guess Extreme Rules and How I Met Your Mother probably have that in common, right?
Ricky, aka Baby Volta, is right. Always stick the landing. You always got to stick the landing.
Anything else about Extreme Rules that you guys want to talk about here?
Nasabi na yun. The show was good. It had good wrestling. If this is the product of focusing on TV more, that you end up leaving like a fewer amount of matches on the pay-per-view card, then I'm all for this because they got a lot of time to do their thing and everyone came to work.
I want to touch on yung ring attire ni Alexa Bliss from Extreme Rules because it seems like they're kind of letting go na of the little kid persona, right? Like, diba, she used to wrestle in the jumper and then yung t-shirt, and now it's like she's hot Alexa again, except with the freaky makeup. What do you think about that?
The television show that.
Right.
I hope that this sticks. As I said, I like the Alexa we got last week on Raw, where she was talking trash. So I don't know if that's going to continue moving forward, but hoping, fingers crossed.
Parang naguguluhan na ako sa character niya. She was supposed to be a possessed girl, and then bata, and then now she's a bitch. I guess I don't know. It's very confusing for me.
I mean, that's always been her character, right? Like Alexa Bliss has always been a mean girl.
No, but at least nung may demonyo, diba? It's clear cut that she's horror, diba?
Right.
And when she had the children's show, it was clean cut in that respect. Like when she was Mean Girl Alexa, alam natin Mean Girl siya. And when she was horror Alexa. But this one feels like a mishmash of all three.
So parang late career Undertaker. Mishmash na lahat ng gimmicks niya.
Yes, yeah, basically. So, and I don't like it. So, I'd rather there be like a clear delineation of who she actually is.
One last point on Extreme Rules before we go to break here. Aaron mentions na sana more extreme stipulations next time. What did you guys think? Now, we only really had one Extreme Rules match.
Well, it's funny how he mentions that because in a few pay-per-views time, meron ulit tayong gimmicky pay-per-view in TLC, diba? So parang how is TLC different from Extreme Rules? Right? Like, how are they, even if you ask for more Extreme Rules matches or more TLC matches, how is one going to differentiate itself from the other? So I think it's like a more macrocosmic, larger scale type of thing to look at it, diba? Lalagyan mo nga na madaming Extreme Rules matches, pero paano yun, diba? Lahat sila Extreme Rules. Ganun.
I didn't really care too much because I don't like forcing the gimmicks on the matches when we have these gimmick pay-per-views. So I am totally fine with just one forced Extreme Rules match, and it was really, really forced. Talaga na yun, diba? They just added the Extreme Rules stipulation at the very last show before, or the last Raw before the pay-per-view. So I'm totally fine with this as long as we get good wrestling, which we got. Okay lang ako sa kanya. Maybe ditch the Extreme Rules name. That's what I would do.
Yeah, maybe the next one can just be called Eye for an Eye. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, let's take our first break. I would too. Yeah. Let's take our first break. When we come back, we'll talk about Raw. We'll talk about the return of Evil Shayna Baszler as well as the Hurt Business reunion. But before that, we got to tell you about one of our new sponsors here on the Wrestling podcast, and those are our friends at NordVPN.
All right, guys, as you probably already know by now, you should be using a VPN or your internet at home because it will protect you, it will keep you safe, and you can watch cool stuff like Disney Plus from here because we don't get that naturally. So if you are thinking of getting your own VPN subscription, our friends at Nord have a really, really great deal. If you sign up, we're using the link podlink.co/476. All numbers yon, 476. You can sign up for Nord at a really, really great rate that is only for tonight, as it's apparently according to the website. $89 for 2 years and extra 4 months. That is $318 a month. And that's what around...
it's over 70% off in terms of discounts.
Pesos. What's that in pesos? 4,500, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really, really good deal. 2 years, 4 months free. A lot of protection, a long, long time. Again, podlink.co/476. Get it now. Get protected.
All right. Thank you very much to our friends from NordVPN. And now a quick word from our other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia.
If you're a podcaster or plan to create your own podcast soon, we want to share with you a tool that we use to help monetize our podcasts. It's called Podmetrics.
You may have heard about it before, but let me tell you now, Podmetrics is a platform that allows you to have full control of how you monetize your podcast. You can collab with brands just like we do here on the Wrestling podcast and choose between the many merchants that fit your podcast's audience. It also gives you tips and samples on how to execute your ads properly so you can maximize your earning potential.
Not just that, you can also track how many of your listeners you were able to convert and know how much you've earned in real time. Cashing out is also a breeze. So if you're a podcaster, make sure you sign up by clicking the link in the description of this podcast episode and use our referral code Wrestling2XPod. That's Wrestling number 2XPOD so you can monetize your podcast too.
Gusto ko yung nagpa-pop yung mga listeners and viewers natin for the sponsors we're getting. So, konti na lang. If anybody knows somebody from Blue Chew, introduce us, please. That's one of our dream sponsors here on the pod.
Meron kaming papuntang sponsor na for all the men out here who need a little help.
That
need a little help escaping.
Excited for. Anyway, let's say to the people of Kumu. Sabi ni Kyle, nami-miss na daw niyang magpahalo-halo sa pre-show. Sabi ni Abby, si Cena daw yung sumira ng top rope. Admin Angelo agrees with you, Rosie. God talaga daw yun. Scamageddon says Demon Finn's Kryptonite are Samoan Joes. Sabi ni Abby, Sasha is back. We didn't talk about Sasha and her return during Extreme Rules. Sabi ni Admin Angelo, great balls of fire na lang ulit. De joke lang. And also, Admin Angelo sent us a halo. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Kumu.
Thanks, everyone.
Promote natin yung kay Admin Angelo.
Yeah, so check out the latest episode of the MTG Show podcast. It's Ro and me. Dapat kasama rin sina Sandro Hermoso and Nicole So we talked about the wrestling gods. There was a retrospective on that, as well as WWE on Fox. So you can check it out on the MTG Show podcast on Spotify. It's also part of the Pipe Network, which Admin Angelo is a part of. So yun, it's a really fun retrospective on WWE on Fox. All right. So we didn't get to talk about Sasha Banks, so we might as well mention that here. Ako nagulat ako. I didn't see it coming na Sasha would come back. And I was actually happy that she came back the way she did. And at the same time, we were able to keep Becky and Bianca from having a decisive loss on pay-per-view.
Yeah, sometimes the DQ stuff is nice because it makes sense because you protect both people. Even though it's not really the result that people want, it is one way for the story to move forward. And Sasha does have a stake to that championship, diba? And she still has a stake to Bianca Belair, and now she has a stake against Becky Lynch. So I'm all for it. I'm not really over the moon about it, but it makes sense. And it makes the SmackDown Women's Division deeper again.
Yeah. Chino, any thoughts? Because we haven't really seen a Sasha-Becky rivalry na silang dalawa lang. We've seen it in a triple threat format from many, many years ago. Pero yung in their current iterations, we haven't really seen them cross paths.
Yeah, so it's a convincing enough way for me to believe that Sasha needs to enter the title picture. I get that. Of course, it's sad because it means that they're also going to write Bianca Belair out down the road. But I like how they're putting Sasha right up against Becky right away since peak. This is the height of their popularity, their career. So I would definitely pay good money to see that.
So yeah, we haven't, syempre, wala pang SmackDown as of recording. So we're really gonna see lang yung next chapter of these storylines from Finn and Roman to Sasha, Becky, and Bianca on SmackDown over the weekend. So let's talk about Raw because at least yun napanood na natin. And I also didn't see the Hurt Business reunion happening. Like, I mean, they broke up shortly before WrestleMania and then half a year later, they've come back together kasi kailangan ni Lashley ng rest back now that MVP is injured. So, Ro, you have a big grin on your face.
No, I mean, it's what the fans like, and it's what the people want. Pero it wasn't like the best way to do it. They had all this time on Raw. They had 3 hours on Raw, and not once did they try to explain why Shelton and Cedric are A, back together as friends after feuding with each other after getting kicked out, and B, deciding to help Lashley after getting kicked out. So nagkaroon ng kakulangan sa story beats na yun. So super weird. Again, they're assuming that we are just going to be okay with this because it's what we all wanted anyway in the first place when they first broke up. But syempre, you got to do the work and you got to do the legwork and explain and make it make sense.
Ikaw, Chino, did you like this?
No, I like I like how they gave Cedric and Shelton a role, I guess, in the main storyline. That's about all the things I liked about it. It was okay. Bumalik sila, and this is not a thing now. And we can have. It's just nice to see 6 African Americans on TV in the main title picture of Raw.
Yes.
At least yon, di ba? Maka-credit mo pa yon. But as for how it came together, it's a little suspect.
Yeah, when you think about it, all of the big factions in WWE on the main roster are all people of color, from the Bloodline to the New Day to the Hurt Business. And since malapit na rin yung War Games / Survivor Series season, people have been making memes of William Regal coming out and declaring War Games for the New Day, the Bloodline, and the Hurt Business.
Yeah. That should be fun. Pero siyempre, gotta prop the bubble here and say that the War Games concept is a NXT thing at the moment. So I don't know if they're going to give us that, but they should, though. I think that would boost a lot of ratings.
So speaking of things that people like, aside from the Hurt Business coming back together, what about Shayna Baszler being this monster heel once again, and then her going after Eva Marie now that she's taken out Nia Jax? So on one hand, dapat heel si Shayna kasi nakakatakot siya in this state. But on the other hand, she also came after Eva Marie, who's generally disliked by the fan base. So, any thoughts?
I think it's fine because I know it's weird because nobody likes Eva Marie, diba? And you kind of get a face reaction kapag inattack mo siya. But it still plays up into her monster heel character. I don't think that automatically makes her a face because I'm sure she's going to keep attacking other faces as well. So I'm all for this. I'm all on board. This is the Shayna we should have gotten. And I hope they do right by her.
Eto na naman tayo sa mga likable heels eh. Diba? The heels that don't draw heat.
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. I guess may appeal siya. But then I have always felt that heels should draw heat. So I don't know why they put her up against Eva Marie. Because in that situation, ang may heat lang talaga si Eva Marie, diba? People were cheering on Shayna to destroy Eva Marie. So it really was a very... I guess, again, like you said, Stan, the creative of Raw is just gonna sit back and say, gusto niya yan, diba? Oh, yan, bigay na namin sa'yo kahit walang logic. Because it's just what the fans want, diba? It's just what the fans wanted, and now the fans are getting it, even if it makes absolutely no sense.
Okay, so let's swap Eva Marie out. Kasi nga alam naman natin na everybody dislikes Eva Marie. Who would you put there na talagang maawa yung mga tao and people be like, yeah, F you, Shayna?
Nikki ASH.
Yeah, Nikki. That's right.
Yeah. Yung wholesome, tas champion pa siya. Tapos sisirain lang siya ni Shayna Baszler. I would believe that.
Hey, props to Nikki ASH for getting that Head and Shoulders TV commercial. One, she looked great in it. Two, it was a pretty well-produced commercial. And three, I think she got paid extra for that. So props to her.
Yeah, big time
Really
yun.
good
Big
stuff.
time client yan.
That's...
So Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley, of course, they're your women's tag team champions. And they've already said on Raw this week na they can basically go to whichever show they want since they're women's tag team champions. So I guess this kind of takes them out of the equation for the upcoming WWE draft, which starts on Saturday, Manila time on SmackDown, then continues next week on Raw. So at this point, let's talk about the draft and let's give you our predictions as well. So what we know so far is that the top champions are reportedly staying in their respective brands, which I think makes sense, right? Medyo weird to shuffle your top champions around. So sige, let's keep them there as the cornerstones of Raw and of SmackDown. But who do you think should need a change of scenery?
Oh, I really need Drew McIntyre to move to SmackDown already. But I know that's not going to happen because he just declared and pointed his sword at Big E after the show, before the show ended on Monday. So that's probably off the table. Ricochet, yes, definitely needs to go to SmackDown. That's one of my picks as well.
Ikaw, Chino, any picks? Any predictions?
Sa ngayon, parang wala pa. I have a feeling that you're going to call up a lot of the NXT guys who've been doing dark matches. So we might see sila Dakota Kai end up on SmackDown. We might see Austin Theory back on Raw. Might be a thing that might happen. Diba? Not for the main roster guys. Parang I really can't put a finger in it right now.
Sabi ni Ricky, Jinder to SmackDown. What do you think about that? Jinder, Veer, and Shanky. Sabi natin, i-package deal mo sila to SmackDown.
Okay lang. I don't really mind, but they won't have as much time to do their thing like they do on Raw. So it depends on what they want. I don't think they're going to get a lot of time on SmackDown. See, Aaron says here, Montez Ford. I think the Street Profits are getting split up kasi it seems as though na gusto nila maging single star na si Montez Ford. He's been getting these reps and he's been putting out good matches. So it's not a bad thing to try, I think.
I just feel bad for Dawkins kasi I feel like this is a money tag team talaga, like the New Day. Yung tipong nakakapanghinayang to split them up, right? I don't know.
But they've done what they could already. Like they've been Raw tag team champions, they've been SmackDown tag team champions. I think it also benefits both of them to do their thing separately, like it did for Big E like last year, diba?
Si Emil is bringing up Mason T-Bar to SmackDown. Actually, yung tag team na naisip ko na mag-switch is actually Mustafa Ali and Mansoor, just because I think they'd probably mesh better with the teams over on SmackDown. Plus, with the emergence of Garza and Humberto Carrillo as a tag team, parang sila na yung high-flying cruiserweights, diba? Cruiserweight tag team on Raw. So, baka maging crowded na for sina Ali and Mansoor.
People are saying cross to SmackDown. Pwede. I don't mind.
Yeah, I actually called that. Karrion Kross to SmackDown. Wala naman siyang storyline ngayon. He's just cutting promos in these creepy backstage areas. And I guess to add to that, bring up Scarlett. Like, if you're going to reintroduce Karrion Kross on SmackDown, you might as well call up Scarlett from NXT and just complete the package again.
Yeah, agree on that.
Rowan says Arturo Ruas. Is he still on the roster? Parang
he's not.
He was part of the releases. So yun nga, sabi ni Leo Reyes, the same people I brought up, Dakota Kai, Austin Theory, are probably gonna end up on the brand. Malaki yung chance natin dyan. Also, Keith Lee, probably, feeling of Keith Lee stays put on Raw.
Yeah, I think he's staying on Raw. So. Yeah, they just re-debuted him, diba, as Keith Bearcat Lee. What do you think about this new nickname and this heel turn for Keith Lee?
Okay lang naman. I just, as an editor, I would put the Bearcat before his first name. That's just it. I like the new character. I think he has direction.
I don't like it. It's like if you knew Keith Lee from NXT, then ang layo na ng character niya from the current Keith Lee that we're getting. Because first of all, where is Bearcat coming from? Like, I know it's like a homage to a former champion, but it doesn't make sense for him.
Yeah, hindi pa nila in-establish yun.
Hindi pa na-explain sa canon and sa kayfabe, right? But yeah, if you do your research, it's being reported na Bearcat is a reference to Bearcat Wright, the first real African-American world champion. Na known na pa kay Ron Simmons. People are asking about Shotzi and Knox. I think they're staying on SmackDown, and they are challenging Nikki and Rhea as of this past week's episode ng SmackDown. So I don't think Shotzi and Knox are going anywhere, lalo na't kaka-debut lang din nila on SmackDown just a couple of months ago.
Yeah. The SmackDown Women's Division needs that depth. So I wouldn't move them at all.
I think Cameron Grimes has done everything he needs to do sa NXT. Kasi with the new reboot, parang floating na lang si Cameron Grimes. Like, he used to be this heel that everybody hated, then he became one of the top baby faces, and now na you've got the likes of Braun Breaker coming up through the ranks. Parang, Cameron Grimes is just there. I think they could give him an opportunity on Raw or SmackDown. I think Cameron Grimes is getting called up this week.
Yeah, I would put him on Raw. Just because the mid-card of Raw has more time with 3 hours. So, yeah. The worst that could happen is him joining the 24/7 championship hunt,
which I feel is going to happen.
It's
going to happen. He's gonna be a 7-time 24/7 champion or some shit. So, apparently, he falls under the Vince category of a midget, diba? So parang
hindi naman siya sobrang liit.
Yeah, but he's not tall. He's not tall.
He's not tall. He's not 6'6". He's not 350 pounds. He's not a former football player, diba? So parang I don't know if Vince really knows how to use somebody like Cameron Grimes.
Tsaka nakatawa pa siya. So malamang masaslot siya dun sa comedy spot.
Diba? I mean, just look at what's happening to Zawa, to R-Truth.
What about guys like Walter and Timothy Thatcher? Are they getting called up here, do you think?
I don't think Thatcher is going anywhere. I think he's just injured. Walter, though, I do want to see get called up because I wouldn't put him in the new young people NXT anymore. Medyo out of place siya dun, I think, and he would be served well on the main roster. Just see what would happen.
I would call up all 3 members of Imperial.
Yeah, pwede.
Why not, diba? I mean, it's not like they're doing a lot in NXT right now. And if Walter's there, syempre kailangan din yun ng threesome para makasali siya sa War Games style matchup na gagawin ng WWE, diba? So, I would call all 3 of them up.
Yeah. You're right. Kasi yung NXT Tag Team Championship picture parang napupuno na rin. And Imperium is not in the mix at all, right? So you might as well just bring all 3 of them up together. No, Neil, I hope he's not the new Vladimir Kozlov. God, I hope not. Lewis is asking, what's the deal between AJ Styles and Paul Heyman? Kasi somebody in the comment section much earlier said na AJ Styles to SmackDown, and then somebody else said na unlikely because Paul Heyman's on SmackDown.
Ano nga ba to? It was his booking of the Good Brothers, right?
Yeah. Yes. So basically, AJ Styles blames Paul Heyman for the Good Brothers leaving the WWE. Kasi parang he put their ang sabi-sabi is the Good Brothers put their good faith in Paul Heyman when he was still the head of creative on SmackDown. And then when he got removed, the Good Brothers lost their spot. And so at the end of the day, nangyari, history happened, and now the Good Brothers are on Impact right now, or AEW, diba? And so they blame Paul Heyman for what had happened.
Right. So it's not likely na we'll get AJ on SmackDown again. Plus, we just had AJ on SmackDown last year, diba? He was just there on SmackDown last year.
Yeah, but he's been in the company for that long, So at this point, he's already well-traveled in both brands. So wala ka na rin magagawa doon. At least freshen him up every now and then.
Sabi ni Gab, Bobby Lashley to SmackDown. What do you think? May feud pa siya with Goldberg, pero Goldberg doesn't have a brand.
Yeah, I'm okay with that actually. He's been on Raw since he came back to the WWE, diba?
Yeah.
So I would put Lashley on SmackDown. Lashley versus Reigns should be fun.
Pero ang dami ng heels sa SmackDown kung ganun.
Yeah, ang dami ng heels masyado ng SmackDown. I actually wouldn't move Bobby. I would keep him on the Raw.
Sige, Chino, let's get to the questions on Kumu.
So sabi ni Abby, ano daw yung format ng draft this year? Yung may list lang of eligible draftees per show pa rin?
Yeah, I think so. They haven't really released the list of eligible people to draft, but I would assume that that's what's gonna happen. I think they are including NXT guys na rin sa eligible people, but I don't know, when. Maybe we'll see it before Friday.
Admin Angelo says, if pupunta ng SD si Drew kay Roman daw siya na laban as per Raw Talk recently. Also, sabi ni Scamageddon, cross to SmackDown. Tapos sabi din niya, Nakamura and Priest swap places, which is probably not gonna happen kasi they want to keep the champions where they are. Sabi din ni Admin Angelo, Apollo and Jinder swap, which I actually can get behind. I can see that happening.
So with the rules for the WWE draft not really being announced or set in stone, I just want to put this out there again because we've been talking about this on the podcast for several years now. This is something that we generally on the podcast want to see happen. Now, Raw and SmackDown will act like actual sports teams with a boardroom, which we kind of saw before, except you actually have the actual Fox and USA people inside the boardroom. Kasi diba, like we're hearing these reports na the networks are actually getting affected. Na, bakit sina Becky and Brock nasa SmackDown na? We might as well bring that into the picture, make it more exciting, and make it really feel like a sports draft. Na kunwari, Raw snags Brock Lesnar, for example, may magagalit a network executive from Fox, diba? Like, I would want to see that.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's like the first time I have heard of the networks getting affected on who's on which brand. So might as well, use that to their advantage.
I'm going to throw a name out here, and I'm going to say Bailey ends up on the Raw.
The problem lang is matagal pa bago siya bumalik. So I don't think she's even gonna get mentioned.
True. But I'm going to say Bailey ends up on the Raw. I don't think you're going to put 3 of the 4 horsewomen on SmackDown. Medyo lugi naman yung Raw doon, di ba?
Has it happened na 3 of the 4 horsewomen are on the same brand? Or has it always been 2-2?
Ano?
Parang hindi ko napansin yun.
I think it's always been 2-2.
Yeah.
Hindi nila pinagsasama. Because I remember the tag team match that they had, and they were both on separate brands. Di ba?
Yeah, but technically right now 3 are on SmackDown. Technically.
That's true.
Technically. Yeah.
So that is a first. So you will probably see them get split up again.
Sabi ni Kyle, 2016. Yeah, that's right. After the first draft, Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha were all on Raw, and Becky was anchoring SmackDown with Carmella, with Natty, diba? Alexa.
Okay.
Right. I remember now. Yes, I remember this.
Right. Good catch, Kyle. I think at this point, I'd call Alexa like a 5th horsewoman, just because of how steady she's been. But that's just me.
I wouldn't say that because she wasn't part of that batch in that generation. But she's on her own. She stands out on her own.
She's on a different level of existence. I don't know, different generation. Yeah.
Different plane.
Different generation of women superstars.
And I'm going to put something out there. And it kind of pains me to say it, but I'm kind of tired of seeing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on the same show. I just want to see them apart for a while. Like kahit 1 year na they're not interacting muna. Just so I get excited again for the next rematch.
I would put Sami Zayn on Raw. Parang sama na din yung mga influencer friends niya, di ba?
Yeah, why not? Sammy's actually a pretty good promo, diba? So, and Raw has always been historically ma-promo na show. So if you put Sammy on Raw and let him run his mouth, that would be fun. Ricky saying, di ba lilipat na rin naman si KO sa kabila? Well, we don't know that yet.
We don't know that yet. He's teased it, pero he might take the contract extension or new contract. So we don't know that.
Like we said, AEW is too deep. So, di rin natin alam. It might not work to everyone's best interest. So, we don't know. Anything else on the draft before we go to break again?
Scamageddon has a nice suggestion. Kyle O'Reilly to SmackDown. I'd go for that.
Yes.
I think that's a good one. I think that would pan out way better than Adam Cole on SmackDown.
Sayang lang na Kyle O'Reilly never got the NXT championship run that some of us would have wanted him to have. But yeah, seeing him on SmackDown would be great. Have him beat up Happy Corbin or something. Right, so there, those are our predictions and yung mga wish list things we're manifesting for the upcoming WWE draft. Keep leaving your comments, yung mga predictions ninyo dito sa comments on Facebook and Kumu. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about AEW. Today's Brody Lee tribute show from Rochester, New York. That's coming up after the break. But first, another way you can support the Wrestling podcast is through your online shopping on Shopee ngayong payday sale.
Yon, may payday sale and 10-10 in a couple of weeks. So all you got to do to support the podcast while doing your online shopping on Shopee is to use our affiliate link. It is podlink.co/W9X, podlink.co/W, the number 9, and the letter X. Type that in your mobile browser. It will take you to the app, at the cart, check out, and what you buy will help us do what we do here in the podcast at no extra cost to you.
And now a quick word from our other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia.
What's up, boomers? This is Usapan Retro.
Hey, what's up? I'm Sanya.
Hey, my name's Ron.
Yo, we're boomers and we love to talk about video games and otaku culture, and we're from the Philippines.
Catch us live on the Kumu app every Saturday at 5 p.m. and the podcast every Monday at 8 a.m.
Catch you nerds there.
Let's get our Kumu shoutouts.
So sabi ni Scamageddon, he has picks na daw for his pick of the week. So excited na siya. Excited yung mga tao for the pick of the week. And Angelo sent us he sent us something like called the Globe Plus 99. So